Salah sifted through for Soberslide. Nicked back by Ravenberg and hit by McAllister. Onto it here is Cody Gakpo. Mo Salah and touched in for number 5. Liverpool are the champions for their people, with their people, and for the 20th time.
So the big night has arrived for Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United. A competition that can save a season and change the next one. In towards Brennan Johnson, it's in! The full-time whistle, and Spurs have won the Europa League.
Man United are back.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 87 of fpl-bros. It's me, Kojo, and I'm being joined by James. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. So yeah, in this episode we're just really going to look back at the season just gone. So that's season 24 to 25 basically, and just talk about highs and lows, complicated.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Alright then, so let's just get going.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
So I'm going to try and keep this bit as short as I can and not complain too much about the last day of the season. And I think I got 63 points. And just to keep it brief, I had Jared Bowen in my team and Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Bowen. I think Bowen really made a difference for me. And it's the reason why I overtook Derek, I think, because he didn't have any of those players. So I overtook Derek and finished top of the Originals League by 1 point. So I came from behind. I was 20 points behind him, and I came from behind to beat him. Yeah, I
That's
thought,
unreal.
no, normally 20 points, you think, yeah, this isn't going to happen. So I just, crossed my fingers. I thought I'm not going to take any minus to see what happens, and it actually worked out.
You smashed it.
In that particular one instance, I did. I mean, overall, I think I ended with a rank of like 370,000. So not fantastic, like if you compare to like most like properly engaged managers. But I did say a couple of weeks ago, oh, I'll be happy if I finish in the top 1 million, and I did that. So achievement unlocked.
Smashing it. Well, mine was actually pretty poor last season. It ended very poorly. I ended on 60. My final game week was 62 points, but like I just feel like I should give a little bit of a background for the last 3 game weeks because it's kind of that tells the story a bit. So I've got on game week 35, I brought Martinez in, and I don't know if you remember game week 35, but he had an absolute stormer and got 9 points.
Yeah.
But I kept him on my bench because I don't know why I thought Raya would do well, and I also had Conser on my bench. So there was a ton of points on my bench, and he stayed bench for the next week, and he also had a great clean sheet. And I also had Dan Burn on my bench, who scored a goal. So there was like 19 points on my bench that week, and then I kept him on my bench again, and he had a clean sheet. And this was game week 37, and Conser was also on my bench, and he scored a goal, and he had 15 points. And then game week 38. I finally made the right decision and having him on my bench because he got his red card. But I think that's a total of about 30 or 40 odd points that I missed just by having people benched in the last 3 game weeks of the season, and it was like, oh my god, that is a killer.
For it to happen then, right then.
Yeah, so consecutively as well, and that just like I looked back on it before because I knew we would have a chat. I thought I'll look back and just kind of see if I can figure out a little tail of the tape and figure out what went wrong. And it went really wrong with, with my bench choices, and also stupidly.
Hmm.
I put my assistant manager chip for the last 3 game weeks of the season, thinking, oh, I'll put it on one of the managers who's fighting for something. And
Yeah.
I put Postacoglu thinking that, oh, he might want to save some face after losing the
Yes.
cup, because I thought he would never lose
Yeah.
the cup, and then he ended up
Yeah.
winning the cup. And so he didn't give a so his team would tank. They tanked the last 3 games of the season, so it was like 0-0
Yeah.
-1 from him. I was
No.
like, oh my
No.
God,
No.
this is
It,
insane. Oh no, it wasn't -1, it was just 1, but it was insane. But like, if I look at the FPL
yeah.
bros quickly, I think that 40 points, not that actually it wouldn't have done much, to be fair. I would have stayed in the same position. I thought it would have made a big
Well.
difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
just wasn't my season this year. I think this might have been one of my lowest of the last 3 seasons that I performed.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people I've noticed didn't do as well as they'd hoped they would. And
Mm,
I was actually looking back at my season as well, and I discovered all it took was 3 game weeks for me to like spend most of the season outside of the top 1 million. And this is going all the way back to I think maybe like November or something, where I had Haaland and he wasn't scoring, and
mhm,
everybody else had Salah and he was scoring.
mhm.
And it took me 3 weeks to rectify that. But in those 3 weeks, I just plummeted. And basically, it took me about 29 weeks to get back to the position I started
Jesus.
in. All it took was 3 weeks with Haaland instead of Salah. Just some of those decisions, man, they can really punish you.
Yeah, I think the Haaland Salah swing this season was probably one of the biggest swings we've seen in the past few seasons for FPL. If you held Haaland, well, like you said, for three
Mm,
weeks, but imagine you were someone else and you held him for a further couple more weeks, you would not have
yeah.
seen, you would not have even seen the top half of your like, I don't know, your local league table, let
Yeah.
alone the.
Yeah.
So like that's
No.
it. It was really make or
It,
break.
yeah, it's just brutal. And I think everybody who did well just went with Salah basic,
Yeah,
and the
perma
rest of
captain
us,
and just left it.
yeah, it just left it. Yeah, because he had an amazing season.
I said you were bound to catch points regardless, even if it was just the odd assist
Yeah,
or some bonus points. He was on
exactly.
fire.
It's like he was ticking over, as they say, picking them up 6, 8, 10, 6, 8, 10 every week. 6,
Hmm.
8, 10. You didn't have to worry really.
No.
Although some people also, and I admit I wasn't one of them, or some people recognised really early on that Nottingham Forest would do well, and they picked Nottingham Forest defenders or Chris Word, and I
Hmm.
just thought to myself, well, it will never last. And yes, they did run out of steam eventually, but by that time it was too late. That's when I thought, oh, maybe I'll pick Chris Wood now. Just when he stopped scoring. So again, I think that one also kind of caught a lot of us
Yeah.
unawares, the whole Nottingham Forest thing.
I think they do the set and forget. If you pick this team at the beginning of the season and didn't do anything, I think in the defense, some of them were. I think there was like two of the defender goalkeeper combinations were Nottingham Forest players. That's how good their defense was this season. It was like those. If you
100%.
picked just any two of them, like their keeper and a defender or two defenders maybe, you would have done just fine because they did.
100%.
They had a great clean sheet record. I think their
They
goalkeeper
did.
was tied Golden Glove with Raya this season.
He was.
Yeah,
He was,
so
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
And that was
No,
no one was choosing that at the beginning of the season.
no, that's exactly. In fact, I remember some people even saying, "Oh, he's not even going to be their first choice keeper. Pick
Ah,
another guy."
it's a joke. FPL is actually a joke. Like because
It
if you want to laugh, I guess go back and look at like some of the top FPL influencers and listen to their first game week and their first game week selection and just hear what they say. It's like no, nailed
is.
on Gabriel Jesus. He's starting.
Yeah.
He's gonna
Yeah.
rip it up this season.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Something like that.
Oh, really got me. They really hooked me in with Nkunku. Yeah,
Oh,
Nkunku's gonna play.
God.
Nkunku's the man. He's been tearing it up pre-season. Nkunku, you've got to have him in your game one team. And I thought, right, here we go.
Yeah, and
God.
Nkunku's Sancho reincarnate for you.
Most definitely, but yeah, thankfully I got off him really quickly.
about to witness a monumental throwdown.
Actually, one other slightly interesting. Actually, this isn't interesting at all, but I'm going to say it anyway. I checked and looked back at how many points I got from my goalkeeper over the whole season. There's a couple of websites which will tell you. There's one called FPL Optimize, and another one is called FPL Statistico.
Okay.
And for anyone that's listening, it's FPL Statistico, not FPL Statistics, which is completely different. But anyway, I found out that I got about 123 points over the whole season for all my goalkeeper points. So I changed it. I had Reyes and sometimes I had Sanchez. Sometimes I had Henderson, but I kept changing it up, right? And I just looked on the list of top scoring goalkeepers, and 5 of them scored more goalkeeper points than I got by changing my goalkeeper all season.
Right.
And the top scoring goalkeeper was actually Pickford. He beat Sells by 8 points. Right, exactly. So just imagine if I just picked Pickford at the beginning of the season and just left it there, I would have been in a better position. And you go, no, Ray's going to have a good week this week. And then, this person and then that person. It just goes to show sometimes, especially when it comes to the goalkeepers, like, I think we can just overthink it too much.
I think so.
basically.
I think so. I think that's something I learned from this season because I think I had Raya pretty early doors, and then
Yeah.
I mean, insert name here for second position. Literally insert name here. It could have been any of the lowest costed one. It was just like price high to low. All right, he's got half a bonus point. I'll stick him in. Do you know what I mean? But
Mm.
I think that is the game plan. I think you just got to stick it and be like, well, this is just me. I'm not gonna twist until I get a wild card. And you change your goalkeeper twice a season, both those times wrong with wild cards. Do not
Yeah.
of course,
Max.
unless he's broken a leg, like unless he's like literally getting you 0 points every game.
That's a red flag. Yeah, I think it's pretty difficult. I am going to say it's difficult to predict how many points a goalkeeper's going to get. It's as simple as that. And anybody who thinks they know who the highest scoring goalkeepers are going to be, they're just kidding themselves. Yeah, I could have had Pickford, I could have had Sells, I could have had Flecken, and they all got more points. Just imagine they all got more points.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
Okay, so I just want to, obviously because this is a review season, for you, and this doesn't have to be FPL, well, what was the highlight of the season or highlights, think back really?
Well, it's not FPL. It's I mean, I can't think of a highlight of FPL season. I'll be real. I wasn't as locked in the FPL season this year. I could have done better, but the highlight was Champions League, Arsenal going to the
Yeah,
Emirates and watching them
yeah,
beat Real Madrid. Insane.
yeah, yeah.
Insane. Like I have the bag upstairs from the day. Like they gave you a little bag to do the tifo at the beginning of the game, and I got it
Oh,
upstairs.
right.
I'm never getting rid of it. It's amazing.
No.
Like it's just what a memory, and it was just unbelievable. But
Yeah,
that'd be my highlight
no.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
Ah,
I suppose
I would
another
love to
highlight
see that.
you'd love to do what come to one of the Champions League games.
Well, no, well, to be in a Champions League game, to watch your team play a big team and to win,
Oh my gosh,
especially when you think about the whole build-up and everyone was like, oh,
mate,
Real Madrid, they're champions,
that's
they've
it.
done it all before, been there, done it, nothing phases them. Look what they did to Man City last season, blah, 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 blah,
But that was it. That was it. I think that's what I think that's almost what got me a little bit annoyed by the discourse because when we beat them, then suddenly it was, oh, Modric is tired, Bellingham's not having a great season, and
Classic.
Vinny Jr. And I said, chat, because 2 weeks ago you guys were saying we're getting our butts handed to us, and Madrid were licking their lips when they saw that they had Arsenal. But suddenly now everyone's tired, everyone's injured. F- off. I'm not.
It's always the same. Yeah, these people, they always know what they're talking about before the game kicks
You
off.
know?
Then afterwards, it's like, actually, well, you know what? And you say, yeah, now you know nothing. But 90 minutes ago, you knew a whole lot. You
Yeah.
knew a whole flipping lot 90 minutes ago. Yeah, no, that's it. But yeah, no,
It was
that sounds absolutely amazing.
it was unreal. It was unreal. It was like I think what showed me how unreal it was is that I got to the game pretty early to watch the training, and like I bought resale tickets, and
Hmm.
I was sat in a row of like season ticket holders who probably sat next to each other for the last 20, 30 years, however long they've been at the
Yeah.
Emirates, right? So like this guy kind of came in like a bit like, oh, he had his burger, he sat down, he did barely said hello, he just kind of gave me like a little grunt nod. And he was an old man. He didn't really sing many of the songs or whatever else, but like the first goal went
Mm.
in and he like looked left and right, like, what's going on here? And then like the second goal, and then the third goal, he was like jumping, he gave me a hug, he said, is this real life? And it was like you felt like you'd like hit a different dimension. Like it was just unreal. It was like,
Yeah.
what is happening in
Yeah.
this world? We're beating Real Madrid 3
Yeah.
0
Yeah. No,
But
it
yeah,
was all real.
it
They
was all
had their
real.
big stars on the pitch. You
Hmm.
know, it happened, and yeah,
And
and
you?
no matter what else. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, and you, what was your highlight? But how do you feel about? But you carry on with what you were saying. Your train of thought. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, no matter what happens now, no one could ever take that one particular experience away from you because there's
No.
very few people who are going to have that.
I think because I'm an avid podcast listener, so I have like at least 3 Arsenal podcasts that I listen to on a week to week basis, and they're like
Okay.
they
Yeah.
drop out 2 or 3, and like most of them are, like I said, lifelong Arsenal fans. Some of them remember Arsenal win the league in '89. Like these are the kind of people that I'm listening to, and they said like that was the single best night they've ever had at the Emirates Stadium. And
Mm.
they said like, look, I was there,
Yeah.
I'm saying that, and they also said that that's also top 3 bar none Arsenal games I've ever
Mm.
watched in my life. And he said, like, I was there for the final game of the Invincibles. I was there for like the double win
Mm.
season. I was there for this. I was there when we beat Liverpool to the title in whatever year.
Mm.
And all these other things. He said
Yeah.
this was a moment because it's been so long and we've arrived.
Yeah. No, I think so. I don't think it's exaggerated to say that at all. Yeah, and it was a complete performance as well. 3-0. It doesn't get much better than that. It's everything you could hope for.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
Yeah, for me, a highlight. Actually, I feel quite embarrassed now. I don't know what to say after that. Did I have anything really? No, I suppose compared to what you said, I'm bringing it back to FPL. This isn't all that
No, bring it back to
amazing,
FPL.
but
It's great. That's the point of the podcast. I'm just here talking.
yeah. Basically, you may remember that towards the end of the season, I was lucky enough to. Well, I think lucky might be an interesting choice of word, but I went to the London Stadium to watch West Ham versus Spurs,
Yes.
and the thing about that game is that, and I know that you can watch like Premier League football matches, you can watch the whole thing on television, but
Yeah.
it's still not quite the same as being there. I
No.
don't know what it is. And I maybe it's because you can focus on other things rather than what the TV cameras show you. But you get a bit more of a feel for the game and the players. I don't know. Anyway, the
I
reason
think
I'm saying this is go on.
No, I was just gonna say, I think you see more. You see what you want to
Mm.
see. Like I know it's weird, but
Yes.
like sometimes the ball's at the other end, and you've looked to you're down at the left side of the pitch, and you've looked to the right, and you're like, oh look, what's that? What's the centre back doing? Oh, the centre back's moved to a funny position. I wonder if this is their defensive shape. Like I don't know.
True.
You're the kind of guy who has this weird, like you like to see weird nuances like this sometimes in the game. Because I'm the same. I can appreciate it as well. I look at it and be like, oh, look at this defensive shape they've got into. That's quite interesting. They brought their CDM all the way back in the centre back line, and the
Mm.
like, centre backs all the way forward. Why have they done that? Like,
Yeah.
and then you go back
Yeah.
to watch the football. We will never see that on TV
Mhm.
because you watch where
No,
the ball
no.
is.
See, this is the thing. And what's even worse, if you're watching a highlights package, the pundit will say, "Oh, I want to look at this and I want to look at that," and then you have to absorb everything that the pundits are telling you.
Mhm.
And it's all being spoon fed to you. Anyway, the
Yeah.
point I was trying to make is that I watched West Ham, and they are not as bad as their league position says they are. This is and I
Wow.
actually noticed. Yeah,
Okay. I
I
did not
actually
expect this.
know it's true. If you watch them play, I think that they are not getting the results that they deserve. And in particular, I was watching how Wan-Bissaka was linking up with Jared Bowen. And I
Mhm.
thought to myself, I said, because up until I went to that game, I was thinking about getting rid of both of them for my team. And I said, do you know what? I'm just going to stick it out. Not only am I going to keep him, but I'm going to stop benching Wan-Bissaka and I'm going to play him. And
Wow.
yeah,
The eye
and
test, the ultimate eye test.
it was, and this isn't just, and I think the eye test has to be real in-person eye test.
Mhm.
I would not have come to this conclusion if I watched them on the television. And so, because of that, it helped me have a relatively strong end to the season. And I was just really happy because I picked them both for a reason. I was starting to get a cold feet. But when I saw them playing, it was obvious to me that these two can always do something.
Mhm.
And that's it, basically. So that cheered me up, cheered me up, being dirt by 1 point. That's my highlight,
But,
basically,
but
because I saw
and they
West
did.
Ham live.
But
Yeah.
they did go on to do something, like both of them players. And to be honest with you, I remember Saka. Everyone knows I'm an Arsenal fan, so I watch the Arsenal games. I rarely, with kids, it's hard for me to watch games that I'm not really booking in advance. So I'm not able to casually watch a football game. But I remember Saka. He ran down Arsenal's wing, overtook Calafiori, who was running back and made a mistake, and then then he squared it across the box to Jared Boehm, who was free for a header, and how they got their first goal. And then they beat us in that game
Oh,
when West
right.
Ham beat us. So when you're
Oh,
saying these
right.
two players, that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. I remember Laka tearing down the
Mm,
wing, crossing it to Jared Bowen, who was literally
mm.
the only attacker in the box, and he found him
Yeah.
and he headed it in
Yeah.
between
They.
Gabriel and Saliba, no less. So you know, like
Yeah.
they were good, and they were a good pair to have.
No, I think so. I mean, you obviously got to own them at the right time, but
Mm,
yeah, a lot of things just fell in for me at
mm.
that point.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
Oh, okay, then. So lowlights. I mean, if you don't want to go first, I can go first.
You go first for the
Uh,
lowlights. I've got one or two that I'm
uh,
thinking of.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I've actually already kind of mentioned it. Really, I know it's boring, but it's just the way having Haaland and not having Salah at the beginning of the season completely did me. And
Yeah.
and it's again, I've got nothing to add for what everybody else is saying. Oh, you've got to stick with Haaland. He's done it before. His numbers are good. All the rest of it, he's just not sticking it in the net. Salah's an old man. He's not going to be able to keep it up. And that's what I believed, and I was just completely wrong about it, and it was incredibly frustrating. And I was looking back through some of the scores I was getting back then, like 30 points, 28 points. Thinking,
Hmm.
what the hell is going on here?
Hmm.
I mean, and then generally speaking, like many people, I just wasn't expecting Liverpool to do as well as they did. And it's funny to think about how good they were for most of the season because once they won the title, they were absolutely terrible. But
Hmm.
they were, yeah, if you think back to it, they were actually quite good. So yeah, that's my low light. It's an FPL one, not having Salah and having Haaland instead. Just really, really sucks.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a pain in the bum for sure. I think for me it was I think my low light, I think I highlighted it a bit at the beginning. It was just the run in and just poor decisions in my bench choices. I think I
Yeah.
made I think I made the wrong decision a few times, which was really annoying because I should have known that Arsenal were probably going to concede because we weren't doing so well at the back end of the season, and we definitely weren't the defensive unit we were at the beginning. Um,
Yeah.
so that's my FPL low light. I think my season low light is PGMOL, who absolutely wrecked us at the beginning of the season because of dissent and kicking balls away, and then
Yeah,
suddenly
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
about it 3 weeks after we got our second yellow card for kicking the ball away in dissent, and suddenly it was fine to kick the ball away, and no one got another card for it, and that
Yeah.
off. But I think that's
No,
just.
that's fair enough.
But I think that's not, and I would take this away from Arsenal, and I'll just say widely and generally, and this season, the next season coming up in August is gonna be no different. There's gonna be we are gonna crack down on crowding the referee, and then the first 4 game week, someone's gonna get a couple people gonna get sent off for walking towards the referee when they haven't got the captain's armband, and then we're gonna forget about it again. And then that's just
Yeah,
PGMOL, isn't it? It's like, oh no, we went too
yeah,
far
it
the other
is.
way.
It is.
Now we're not going to do it anymore. It's like, but you ruined
Yeah.
like 6 points for a team for what though? Because that's that you changed the season because you were going to crack down and you didn't crack down. I flipping hate them so
No,
much.
yeah, no. Yeah. A part of the problem is that I think they forget that referees are human, and I think maybe after the first few games, some of them start to think, "Am I really going to have to do this every single game? I just
Yeah.
can't. I can't be asked. I really can't. I've got enough to worry about without having to spot if people are kicking the ball away or setting whatever." So yeah, I think there's only so much referees can deal with And at the moment, I think they're just piling too much on them. But maybe I'm making too many excuses for
No,
referees.
I
Who
don't think
knows?
I don't think it's a matter of making too many excuses. But I agree. I don't blame the individual. I blame the institution. That's why I said
The
PG Mobile
institution,
Price.
absolutely,
I
yeah,
don't I don't
yeah.
think that I don't want to point the finger at who or whoever else, or you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I
Mm,
think the
yeah.
institution and like I don't know, the way they're
The way
lauded.
they manage the way
Yeah,
they manage the referees and their guidelines and what they should be doing and what
exactly.
they shouldn't be doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
There's
it's
a lot
just
of things
too
they did
much.
not like.
No, I mean people forget that football essentially is a very simple game. That's why
It,
it's so popular because it's
yeah,
simple.
it
You
is.
know, and you start making it more complicated. It just takes away from absolutely everything. Ah, dear, oh dear. You know, they just need to get back to basics. It's as simple as that.
No, for sure. They need to get back to basics, but I don't think they will at any point.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
I'm surprised we didn't mention a different highlight. I mean, your actual team, nothing to do with the Premier
Oh
League or the
yeah.
FPL. Wasn't that a bit of a highlight for you this season?
Well, again, you know, what can I say? Guys see AFC Wimbledon get promoted from League Two to League One.
Hmm.
Absolutely amazing, and
Fantastic.
I'm glad I was there.
Big congrats to them. Big congrats. Because I
Yeah,
remember, I
yeah.
think a
I
few
mean,
seasons ago, we were talking. I was like, oh, are they going to get promoted? You're like, no, we're just a mid-table team. And I was like, well, I hope one day, and here we are, chatting about it as if nothing happened.
no. The thing is, we always sell our best player, and it was actually a guy who went to Ipswich. So, you know, he thought he was getting his big move, and now
Mhm.
the Ipswich have gotten relegated. But you can't keep these people. You know, that when you see them play, they're obviously too good to be in League Two. Then
Yeah.
somebody comes in, yeah, even if it's like £500,000, you just bite their hand off, basically. So it's because we're always selling our best players that are kind of like, oh, you know, here we go. We'll start the season well and it'll kind of peter out. But I think part of it was a lot of the other teams in League Two, they couldn't hack the pace either. So even though we were dropping points, a lot of them were dropping points. The worst was the team we actually played in the final, which was Walsall. Walsall were leading League Two by December. They had a 12-point lead and they
Oh my.
completely blew it. Yeah, yeah. So they ended up in the playoffs, you know, and then we were still kind of, you know, they were still favourites because they finished higher than us and we hadn't beaten them all season. But we channeled the spirit of George Graham and the Arsenal team of the late 80s. We 1-0'd our way to success. We won our last 4 games 1-0. So 1-0 to finish in the playoff places, 1-0 to beat Notts County at home, 1-0 to beat Notts County away, and 1-0 to win the final. Just fine by me.
A win is a
And
win. A win is a
A
win.
win is a win.
That's all that
Exactly.
matters.
A win is a win. So
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
for what it's worth, I know a lot of people are, you know, making big noises about Arsenal and all the rest of it. And to be fair, a fair few fans as well. And I've noticed one or two fans complaining that the other teams are getting their transfer business done already, and Arsenal don't seem to have, you know. Anyway, but I think that, and this just may be me talking, but I think a team that finishes second and finishes quite second quite consistently has definitely gone in them to win the title because that's how it happens.
Yeah.
Under Wenger, Arsenal used to finish second quite a lot, and then finally he got first place and he beat Ferguson. So,
Yeah.
you know, it looks to me like things are going in the right direction at any rate.
No, I
And
100%
and
agree.
and I mean, again, I don't know how it works with transfer business these days. I used to think I knew, but I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a Scooby. You've got teams with no money spending millions and millions of pounds, and then other teams, you know, they're just selling players. And I just don't know how they reach transfer decisions. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I hear that Wirtz is going to Liverpool for nearly 110 million pounds. Where the hell do they find that money from?
Well,
Anyway,
it's very it's all cloak and dagger, shady, isn't it? It's all there's definitely
uh,
a conversation to be had about that. But I agree with your point about like we need to take it easy because I think what some like again in my podcast and talking to other Arsenal fans, some people are like, oh, we need to go and get Haaland, we need to go and get the 50 goal a season striker. I was like, all right, but I understand that. But really, if you look at Arsenal right now, a 20 goal a season striker, Havertz was on track to do 20 goals a season this season. He was very much on track. I think he was at the tens and he got a hamstring injury in January. He would have definitely played enough games. And I
Hmm.
do trust he was on the right form that he could have gotten another 10 goals. So like we're not that far off.
Mm.
But they want the big signing. I'm
Hmm.
like, maybe it's not the big signing. Maybe it's a signing like Watkins. Because, and also if you look at
Mm.
our season, it was our
Hmm.
season. You can't look at our season and judge it without looking at the injuries that we suffered at horrible moments in the season. Odegaard,
Mm.
Havertz,
Mm.
Marino, Saka.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
Ben White basically didn't. Ben White was our player of the season last season. You basically didn't see him this season because he had an operation in the first couple of weeks. The only reason it
Yes,
didn't
that's
matter
right.
is because of Yuri and Timber, and he was so good. But like we had a 17-year-old playing left back for most of our season.
Yes. Ah, yeah, yeah.
Like we were
I
definitely not the
forgot
team,
about
but we were second
that.
place. So if you
Yeah.
just say, all right, do this again, but we have our players fit, what happens?
Mm.
We're probably going to do a bit better, I would hazard a guess.
I think
So we're
so,
not that
yeah.
far off. But hey, I
No,
mean,
no,
we've got to see what happens.
second place is nothing to be sniffed at. At
No,
all, and especially when you look at where some other teams and finish the season by God,
that's it.
I would, yeah, yeah.
That's it. Because you look at City with all their might and
Mm.
power and money, they lose Rodri, and suddenly like they were wallowing just about making it top half of the table for some of the season. Like that's how bad it
That's
was for
right.
them. And then they scraped
Yeah,
into
yeah.
they got a lucky run of well, they didn't get a lucky run. They spent 200 million pounds in January and then made a push to top four. Because
But
why
I think
not?
that Crystal Palace game was the turning point. They were very close to losing that game,
Yeah, they
and
were.
if they had lost it, it could have been a completely different story. But yeah, there you go. Them's the break.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
All right then. Well, I think we'll end it there.
Yeah, I think that's
We're
good.
all done. I don't know when the fixture list is going to come out. When does it normally come out? Is it
I'm
like
not sure.
mid-July or something?
I'm not sure when.
Oh,
I think
right.
I think it is mid-July. I think it is somewhere like that.
Okay.
But
So
the
yeah,
next
well,
season's an AFCON season, no?
oh, it is. That's right. So,
Oh, there's a
um,
spanner in the works, isn't it?
yeah, well, yeah,
That
because
changes everything. And it's
somebody,
also a World Cup season too.
it is, yeah.
Oh, it's
Actually,
a
I was just
big
going to say, some people are getting excited about signing Brian Mbeumo, but he's going to about a month, isn't he?
yeah,
Then
the
where are your
business end.
goals going to come from?
The business end. And
Well,
no, for sure. And like you've got to consider some players, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, all of these guys, they're not going to want to be knackered for the summer tournament.
hmm,
They're going to be
there
talking to
is
their
that.
coach, and then people be like, "Look, mate, like I'll give it my all, but you got to rotate me a bit because I want to have legs for the World Cup."
Mm.
That's the reality of the
There is that.
situation.
There is
Oh,
that.
wow.
But
Football,
yeah,
football.
I think at least Arsenal have shown that they can sometimes fill in the gaps
Yeah.
with younger players. Not every team seems to have that, especially when the owner's coming in and saying you've got to use your own toilet roll now. You know, it's your fault we're not in Europe. You, Sky, you plugs the toilet. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's for another podcast. All right, then. Well, thanks a lot, Jamie, for doing the pod. Really appreciate. As usual, hit like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. And if you're listening on a podcast, please rate us 5 stars. And yeah, we will join you for the start of the 2025-26 season when it all kicks off. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say. I didn't like the assistant manager at all.
No, rubbish.
And yeah, and some people have said, well, they might keep it, but I reckon that they're not going to keep it for one season max, and they're
Yeah.
just going to have to change it or get rid of it. But anyway, I already made my suggestions for what else I'd like to see, but this is a non-fan of the chip right here, if anybody's interested. Okay, all right then. Well, thanks a lot, Jamie, and we will, yeah, hope to have you guys listening to us at the beginning of the next season. So
Yeah.
bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.